December 2nd, 1981. Jeffrey Wilcox, interviewer. Ms. Margaret Gregg, interviewee. Ms. Gregg, what period of time were you involved in the civil rights movement in Rock Hill?
As soon as it began. Well, I can't tell you the exact date, but the first thing I did was to write a letter to the Herald advocating a little more justice and equality. And that got me into a peck of trouble.
I cannot believe that I am alone in my distress over a series of events in our town. May we not consider together the underlying cause of these events?
In 1961, I was 15, 16 years old before I started college. I was a product, a result, or a resident of a absolutely segregated community. And I think that I look back and realize it was coming to an end. But that was not the thought day to day. Day to day, I believe the thought of segregation ending was not as reasonable to many people as how do we save it?
Well, everything was segregated at the time. Schools were segregated. There were no black students at Winthrop. There was a big controversy about the segregation or desegregation of schools.
I think that there were enough small demonstrations going on downtown and other towns that you could not be unaware that the decisions and the lifestyle was going to change, that we could not go on. Civil rights became a phrase that was common, and I don't think it had been that common, certainly in my age group.
So when she wrote the letter, although in the letter she didn't mention that she was a Winthrop professor, she just said that she was a Rock Hill citizen and she believed that everyone should have the same rights under the law. And but that was not a generally held opinion. Hers was an unusual opinion at the time. So that's why it was a lot of controversy to what she wrote.
Her letter was very well constructed. The first part of it, she was exonerating the police, the local business owners, just saying this is the culture, and she was questioning why. Why is it so unfair? Why is it so unequal? And she raised the question in a very polite. She simply said, doesn't anyone else agree with me? And I thought it was extremely well worded, and yet it was not received as she intended it to be.
The Greenville paper picked up all that I had said about it in the letter that I wrote about civil rights. And they called up the Winthrop professor and put him on the spot. They wanted him to fire me right away. And I did have a few people who came to my defense, but most people were bitterly opposed, and even some of my best friends here in Rock Hill were horrified and just didn't want to have anything to do with me. This was a shock to me because I didn't think that I was so unusual. I didn't think that my attitude was different from the attitude of other people.
Margaret was certainly a very acceptable woman. She was quiet, she behaved, she was clean, she taught college, very respectable, and I think to many people they were startled, absolutely startled. Why is she saying this out loud? Because the newspaper was out loud, and it really focused on it. So
she probably would have gotten hate mail or telephone calls that said she was an awful person, but I don't think her job would have been threatened, and the president of Winthrop was under pressure to fire her because of the one letter that she wrote, and because she was a member of the Rock Hill Human Relations Council. But she was just doing what she thought was right.
Things. And also, of course, some people in Rock Hill were incensed that I'd written such a letter too. And it caused quite a furor for about a month or so. But nothing really came of it finally, because, and I was still active in the, although I was told I had to do nothing with the race situation, as I was expected to stay at Winthrop. And I didn't do anything publicly, and I just did what I could privately. It never was a question with me. That I knew all the time that it was right, that we ought to have a greater equality, that we ought to be fairer in our treatment.
We should remember Margaret Gregg because she stepped out of her comfort zone and brought a issue to the forefront that no one really wanted to talk about, that they wanted to kind of brush under the sweep under the rug, and she brought this to the attention and made it more of an issue in the community.
I think it's possible that the tenor of the time, literally the volume of the time was going along hummingly, and a letter like that by a white woman, state employee, a meek, small woman, raised the tenor. It sort of put the pedal to the metal. It raised the temperature, raised the speed. The young men marching became more and more noticed, although maybe feared a little bit at Winthrop about, oh my goodness, we're going to integrate. We are going to integrate. How can we stop it? Or how do we move forward? That started to be discussed much more openly than it had been, I think.
She stepped out of the what was thought that she should do to let her opinion be known that people should be treated equally in a time when that was just not happening that much in the white community. It was happening in the black community, but it wasn't happening as much in the white community, and she stepped out of her comfort zone and those around her, and that's why she was got terrible phone calls and letters. So I think that her bravery and the fact that she could have lost her job because of what she stood up for, what she believed in, and that's a good reason to honor her.
Right now, at this very moment, 2023, which is trying to once again silence a situation, if we would give in to the silence-seeking philosophy of being compounded around us right now, we may find ourselves very much in need of another Margaret Gregg to write a letter and ask us, think about what you're doing. Are you not just falling down that hole again of absolute ignorance?